Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, I'm John, this is Menu TrueNerd, and welcome back to Fallout New Vegas Survival Mode with the JSawyer Mod. Here, in fact, close by to the Mojave Outpost. We're doing something a little bit different, in fact. Rather than kind of going and showing a specific quest or location, I want to talk a little bit more about the game in general, like on a fairly big, wide level, and specifically about the game map. And as regards the game map, specifically the edge of the world, because I think this is one of the ways, and like there's so many ways New Vegas is, to my mind, the most beautifully crafted and best game ever created. But the way that the map is designed is one of my favourites, because New Vegas pulls off a little bit of a miracle, something that's very, very difficult for a game to do. Because New Vegas' map is, in all fairness, if we are honest, quite small, yet it feels absolutely massive. Like, you know, the scale of the map that you got in Fallout 3 is not present in New Vegas. This is not a huge map, and most of what you see on the map screen is completely inaccessible anywhere. Like, all of this over here can't be accessed, can't get to any of this over here, all that's mountain range, all of that's completely inaccessible, all of this down here next to the river on the far side is also completely inaccessible, and even though there's locations, there's literally locations like the fort right here, that's just basically one, like, effectively... Well, it's effectively an internal location, if you like, because you can't actually escape from the camp. So, you know, though it's got a skybox, you may as well just be inside a single building there. So the world map is not big, but it's so dense you don't notice. But I don't want to talk about the density. I want to talk about the edge of the world. Because the thing is, in Fallout 3 and in Fallout 4... how many times have you just kind of accidentally just kind of gone around something that's close by to the edge of the world and you've been told you can't go that way, turn back now, basically you've hit an invisible wall around the edge of the world. It happens all the time in Fallout 3 and in Fallout 4, but it doesn't happen pretty much ever in Fallout New Vegas. I cannot remember the last time, I can't remember if I even ever flipping have, unless I was actually trying to do so, hit the edge of the world in Fallout New Vegas, because the map is so much more beautifully designed. And part of the way it's more beautifully designed is it keeps you away from the edge of the world. The problem that Fallout 4 had is, like, Fallout 4, Vault 111 is, like, right in the top left-hand corner of the map. So if you just happen to choose to start running west or north, you'll hit, like, an invisible wall in Fallout 4 inside about 2 minutes of your start location, which is a bit of a problem. Instead, Fallout New Vegas is kind of based, at least in kind of the way that the game guides you, is this ring. This ring here with New Vegas there, your starting location here, where you're pulled down here, then around here, and you're basically following these highways and these roads, and the game pushes you onto those highways and roads, meaning there's a nice little safe buffer space between the roads and the edge of the world. And the other thing New Vegas does that's very, very interesting is it never pushes you right to the edge of the world. There's all this stuff here, like the drive-in and the old nuclear test site and the animal husbandry farm. It means if you explore along the edge of the world, you'll find stuff. Absolutely. But no quest, not one quest in the game, ever pushes you right up to the edge of the map, which Fallout 3 does all the time. Rivet City, right by the sea edge of the map, right by a land edge of the map as well. Raven Rock, right by the edge of a map. There's so much in Fallout 3 that takes you right up to the edge of the map, so you can very easily accidentally stumble across an invisible boundary. Oasis, that's another one. That's really close by to an edge of the map as well. Fallout New Vegas, its quests keep you locked away, nice and far away from the actual edge of the world, and it guides you away from it very, very elegantly. And that's what I want to do today. I want to particularly look at the southern border of New Vegas, the edge of the world down here in the south of the map, because there's some really fun little stuff down here, but all of it's completely optional, so no quest will ever push you down there. So technically, I suppose, it's stuff that's more likely to have never been seen before, which is very, very interesting. And I just want to talk about some of the really, really elegant ways that the game actually kind of pulls you away, rather than just setting up walls or invisible barriers that means you don't really see the edge of the world, which is very, very nice indeed. Now, the first way it does it over here, because we're starting here close by to the little kind of Nipton rest stop where there's just a bunch of raiders, is, one, the roads just pull you in logical directions. It's just like very, very nicely laid out environments pull you away from heading out into the middle of nowhere. You've got a road that leads up to Nipton, and you've got Nipton. You've got a very obvious big town there, and incidentally, is that raiders or is that ants over there? That's jackals! You guys have regenerated! Hello! Anyone else want to come around this corner, by the way? Yes, yes you did! Seriously guys, it's actually quite bright out today. You should have noticed me by now. Well-placed enemies. That's the other way the game leads you off this way. Because technically, there's nothing to stop me immediately just heading out here into the middle of nowhere. Why don't you want to go in the middle of nowhere? Well, because there's flipping scorpions out there. And at this point in the game, when you're passing by here, when you have like 4 or 5, you probably don't want to be taking on scorpions. Especially the bigger scorpions you can see in the distance over there. That would potentially be a a concern. Plus, this is all just empty space. So, you know, there's a nice town over there, a town where you've probably got a quest to go and visit because a quest marker is leading you over there, because that's how the game's quest marker works. It just kind of updates as you go along this road when you're following the initial quest. So there's a good chance you won't be pulled over here into this flat, empty nothingness where you've got nothing there but just taking on some flipping rad scorpions. Instead, you'll be pulled over here towards Nipton. Beautifully elegant. But anyway, let's actually go out in this direction that the game doesn't really want you to go in, because this is the way that the end of the world is. Oh, and if you do happen to just take out, you know, the two little baby rad scorpions up here, when you come through here, don't worry, there's a lot more rad scorpions yet just to scare you off a bit. You know what? Even mid-level players would probably be put off by what you're seeing in front of you, yes. Still, bring enough ridiculously high-powered super guns to the fight and eventually you'll take these lads out. You'll probably die in a second, won't you? Well, that'll kill you at least. Right, we've killed God only knows how many scorpions. Quite a few. Oh, I think you're all that's left. Oh, that is a shame for you. Elijah's jury-rigged Tesla cannon. Gotta love this thing. Welcome, by the way, to a little unmarked location in the game. This is not technically a... Oh, hello! There's still one more here. Yep, fine. One giant rad scorpion. Can't really stand up to this. And backed hidden. We have finally cleared out all the scorpions in the world. Yes, there's a lot of giant scorpions here, so... If you want poison glands for anything, like if you want to take those back to Prim to be turned into nice casseroles, then, yeah... Take your fill here. There's quite a bloody lot. And yeah, we have got here a scorpion burrow, which is an unmarked location. But as you can see here, you can actually enter this location. I think this is one a lot of people miss. It's just in the middle of nowhere. Would you believe there's scorpions in here? And more importantly, stuff the scorpions have been eating. One Wastelander with a couple of Sierra Madre chips. Intriguing. You don't see too many of those out here in the wider world. And I see one over there. Just quickly take you out. And into caution. Going to be plenty more yet. I think I see something there. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, I see you. I see you. And I see more over there as well. Yeah, this thing burns for ammo very, very quickly. Thanks to... And you are the queen. Not seen too often, a queen. But we'll finish you off. Lovely. And we'll just go over to Elijah to finish off. Oh, little baby one next to the queen. That's kind of sad, quite frankly. And you can be finished off as well. Not quite done. Yeah, you don't see too many queens. Like, I think a lot of people just assume the only queen in the game is in the Camp Searchlight. No, sorry, not Camp Searchlight. The actual Searchlight itself fire station. But it's not. There's another one right here in the little scorpion burrow. It's just an unmarked location, so it's very easy to miss. Queen incidentally has 3 rad scorpion poison glands on her, not the usual 2 for a giant rad scorpion. Very, very nice indeed. And I think that's all we've actually got here. I think it's basically just one cave with quite a few rad scorpions and a few dead people in it. And that indeed is your lot. Ah, there's supposed to be a prospector here. He's just kind of slightly glitched into the ground. Anything special on you? No, to be honest, not much, though I'll gladly take your drugs. But yeah, this is just here, like, you know, just when you think you've seen everything in New Vegas, even if you've literally, like, been around the map, checking to make sure that you've actually hit, like, you know, 100% of all the locations, there's just these unmarked locations all over the shop as well. It's just, there's so much here. So much more and more and more. I wasn't even planning to visit this today. I was just planning to pass this by. I'd forgotten this existed myself, but now we're here. I'm glad that we get to show it off. So I always thought this is presumably where, like, maybe at some point they were planning to put the legendary rad scorpion in here, but there isn't a legendary rad scorpion in this game. But, you know, if there was going to be one, this would be a logical place for it. So anyway, let's say we clear all that out and we just keep heading south. So in other words, we're getting closer and closer to the edge of the world here. How is the game going to stop me just hitting the edge of the world, aside from putting literally all of the enemies in the world there? And to be honest, simply just the matter of putting like a ridiculously large number of tough enemies there is a much better way than just having like an invisible or indeed a visible wall. And there might be a few more scorpions over there. Yeah, we're not quite done. Actually, I think that might be a scorpion chasing something. That might have been... Hang on, what's that ahead of me? That's... Oh, mole rats! Fine, just some mole rats fighting some rad scorpions. Fine, because creatures will attack each other. No problem at all. And we've also got... Hello there. You're a gecko. You're not going to do very well out of life. Are you sure you all want to do this? 100%. And apparently I've gained rank 3. So whoever's next, I'm going to be even better than what you're thinking I'm going to be at murdering you. Alright, fine. You were warned. So even more tough enemies in my way, but just keep on going here. And what we'll find here is one of the really cunning ways that I find that like New Vegas hides its edge of the world. That rather than just putting a wall or anything else, it just kind of gently turns you around. There's multiple locations around the edge of the world where this is what happens. Because what we've got here is an actual marked location on the map. And what we have is the entrance to a canyon. This here is an impassable wall and there'll be an invisible wall somewhere at the top of it. But instead, we actually have a marked location here that brings us down into a canyon. So we see here, Crescent Canyon West. And as the name would indeed imply, it's a crescent. So if you come down into this canyon looking for loot, then what the game is going to now very subtly do is the canyon's going to bend round, and when you come back up the other side, which is also a map marker, you're now going to be facing the other way. The game is just going to really subtly turn you around, which I absolutely adore. There's just a couple of rad barrels here. I don't think there's anything major down here at all, to be honest. It's mainly just a few crashed cars, radioactive barrels, probably just some more golden geckos down here. Yeah, just basic golden geckos, nothing major. But the game makes an effort to just leave a few bits dotted around here. You'll find some just kind of basic medical supplies, crashed cars. There's a bit of variety in what's going on here. So, you know, you'll actually find a truck with more radioactive barrels over in that direction. Keep going on, you'll find, you know, there's clearly been a collapsed bridge up here, and, like, you know, there's these trucks that have fallen over, so clearly that was a railway bridge at one point. So, you know, it just keeps things a little bit different and interesting. We instead hit now the other end, and I have now been very gently turned around. It's a very nice, smooth, subtle way to do the edge of the world. Like, you barely even notice that, of course, this is effectively the wall around the edge of the world. If you reach here, it just looks like there's actually just a big hole to go down, so it feels like a gap more than anything else. And if you actually go through the canyon, you're distracted by the barrels, the enemies, and all the assets there, that you don't notice the fact that you've effectively reached a wall at the edge of the world. And this world does have a wall around the outside of it. The game is just really clever that you, for the most part, you don't realise you've just reached the edge of the world. It's just beautifully, beautifully designed. Now, we've skipped one thing over there, by the way, which is, I think Bradley's shack, which is just a little house, is somewhere in that direction. And this track will also take you very, very close by to the Mojave Drive-In, close by to Nipton, which is, to be honest, an interesting design choice, because that means there was literally a railway track right behind a drive-in cinema. That would have made the film a lot less enjoyable if occasionally a freight train just pulled by, but what have you. Also, excuse me, who are you? Oh, there's just a Jackal Gang leader over there. What are you doing in this part of the world, my good man? Well, never mind, you can just die now. Of course, we've got more wall at the end of the world up here, but again, it's all done very, very nicely, because New Vegas, for the most part, never really just had, like, a straight-up wall. Instead, like, what it had was almost like, you know, mounds of earth that got progressively steeper. So you could always, like, you know, this didn't feel like a wall, because you could run right up to it. Sure, it is just a wall, but, you know, the fact that you've got a boarded-up tunnel right here, which is really, really nice, though sadly, this isn't a location you can get into. This is just a bit of a reused asset from Fallout 3. You can get yourself, like, you know, a fair bit up here. Like, for example, there's totally a way to get up there if I want to. I could just jump up there. So it doesn't feel like you've come to a wall. It just feels like you've come to an area where there's not much point climbing any further. Though, admittedly, even then, these kind of, like, you know, steps that you get to towards the edge of the map do still potentially have uses as sniping spots. They actually have some form of utility. So again, it's not so obvious it's a wall, but instead it's just a series of steps where it's just the top step is a bit too steep to ever actually climb. But there's loads of other useful stuff you can actually use these walls for otherwise. I apologise, by the way, this is what I normally do, but I just really want to just kind of dig into the game and the map design of New Vegas, particularly when it comes to the edge of the world, because it's just such a lovely thing. Ah, wait, I think I've found where those flipping jackals were. Yes, this is probably Bradley's shack right here. I'd forgotten it was this far along. Yep, there's the bastards right there. In fact, they're all walking over in that direction, which gives me a lovely opportunity to just nip in to Bradley's shack, which is the most unremarkable location in the world, but it's just an example of the game putting a whole bunch of... You are literally just all gonna... Okay, fine, you want to do that? That's okay. Unfortunately, the Eve mod there was too good at doing its job. It was too fancy and I couldn't see what was happening anymore. I flipping can't see the rest of them because of the flipping explosions. Right, I think that's them all dead anyway. Lovely. Yes, this will be Bradley's shack right here. Unfortunately, on the inside, I believe it's almost entirely a duplicate of Nobark's shack over in Novak, so that's nice at least. But yeah, you've kind of got this survivalist out in the middle of nowhere, hiding out here. I think you get yourself a star bottle cap somewhere in here as well, if I recall correctly. Yep, there it is. There's the star bottle cap if that's what you need. This is a relatively easy one to get if you happen to, and incidentally, pile of frag grenades if that's your thing as well, together with some ammo and what have you. And my dehydration level has increased, but would you believe I've just got some lovely, lovely flipping... Oh, that's perfect. That's good ammo for this thing. And I've just picked up some purified water from his own first aid box, so life is good. It was also one of the very few instances of finding a BB gun in the game, by the way, so you know... It's not useful, but it makes it just a little bit interesting and unique. Also, some maize. I'll totally help myself to some maize, thank you. Maize is amazing. The motorcycle outside is a lovely touch as well, because it means you can just basically come up with your own story for this place. Like, you can tell that this was actually a pre-war thing. This was some form of, like, you know, apocalypse post-war prepper, who obviously set all this up before the war actually happened, before the bombs fell. He was worried this was going to happen. So, you know, he had his motorcycle, he came up here, maybe on weekends or something, and do we actually have a skeleton now I think about it? Did he actually make it here? Where's our man? Well, he had his lightweight... Oh! This is where the lightweight metal armor is! I've flipping found it, and the mercenary's grenade rifle, right! I've just found where JSawyer hid some of the courier stash stuff, because of course you don't just get that in JSawyer, you have to find it. So, Mercenary's grenade rifle and the lightweight metal armor are both up here. That's nice, that's a really useful thing in JSawyer mode then. So yeah, that's where he hid this stuff. Good, that makes sense, that makes the space even more unique. Oh, JSawyer, I like the way you think. But no actual skeleton, so who knows what happened to the man himself. Right, following morning, and I've skipped a little further over to the east. You may well recognise the husbandry farm here. That's very, very kind of close by to Searchlight and the road, so you may well stumble across this place by accident. But of course, there's a whole bunch of other interesting stuff around here. In particular, if you head pretty much due south from here, well, the eye is drawn to Searchlight Airport, of course. Admittedly, again, there's no reason to go there, and the game gives you no particular reason to go there. It's just sort of there. But instead, if you head pretty much due south from the farm here, then there's something else rather interesting indeed. Where is it? It's somewhere around here. Ah, here we go. I think we can just about see in the distance there. You can just see some movement, and the movement is some robots. Probably take out that Gutsy right now. Yep, that's fine. Gutsy goes down without a struggle. And that, in fact, was a hardened Mr. Gutsy, but he is not going to be the toughest thing here. Instead, we should probably skirt around the outside of this area and get onto some nice high ground, because we are approaching, albeit it's kind of nicely hidden in like a little bit of a gap in the land there, because, yeah, there's kind of a bit of a hill in front of it, making it a bit hard to detect. We are approaching the crashed Vertibird site. And that means we are going to be taking on quite a few nasty things. In particular, yes, you can see over there, we've got flipping sentry bots. We'll just put a few bullets in one of them. We've got sneak attack critical. These are hardened guys as well. That guy's coming in this direction, so he may well find us, but that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if he does. One of them on their own. Yep, there was one of them. Came out on his own, but we managed to snipe him off nice and quickly. Lovely, but now we're in danger. Someone else knows. Oh, it's just a roamer from the test site. Well, that's fine. We're not worried about you. We might be worried about you if you brought your friends, by the way. How many of your friends have you brought, incidentally, from the nuclear test site? Many? No. I think it was just one. Good. Well, that's fine. Ah, but perfect timing. I've just picked up electron charge packs from that. And, of course, the game is very generous with its electron charge packs. Which works for me, because it means the biggest bloody cannon in the world is back in business. And just put a few shots in you. That should finish you off. Lovely. Quickly reload. And I think we're down to the last Mr. Gutsy. No, we've got another flipping sentry bot. Yeah. And that's fine. Probably avoid his missiles, by the way. I've totally been hit by his missiles anyway. That's fine. That'll stun you for a second. Now it should be the last Mr. Gutsy. Yeah, this place, like everything around in this part of the world, is very, very well guarded. And one final critical for the heart of Mr. Gutsy. This area is now clear. Lovely. And that lets us access the lovely crashed Vertibird. Which, of course, I suppose the story is supposed to be. These robots were being carried around, and as a result, they just kind of broke out after the crash, and instead decided to just start fighting. So here we are, crashed Vertibird, and you do indeed have the Tesla beaten prototype. well, before Old World Blues came out, this was basically the most powerful variant of the tester cannon in the game. You got one of them in the Brotherhood of Steel safe house, and then this was the unique variant. But to be honest, the version I've got here is so much superior, there's not really much point. Well, I mean, this one's got its advantages too, but to be honest, yeah, the one from Old World Blues that you get that was Elijah's own one is definitely superior. But yeah, to be honest, it's just kind of nice to see this, here, the crashed little Vertibird at the edge of the world. Again, it's just one of those things that, like, it draws the eye. Like, if you've come to this part of the world and there's this great big ditch where a Vertibird is crashed, you kind of go and explore the Vertibird, and as a result, you miss the fact that obviously, like, you know, there's all this stuff over here that you could just kind of keep trying to walk south, but your eye gets drawn to the Vertibird and the really nice prize left for you right here. So as a result, it's very easy to just get kind of drawn away from the fact the game's clearly kind of trying to distract you from the fact there's nothing over there. In fact, actually, this point right here, pretty much directly behind where the Vertibird is crashed, is one of the very few points of the game where you do actually basically face a proper full-on invisible wall rather than just an actual kind of wall that simply can't be climbed, which is right here, even though blatantly there should be. Well, actually, you know what, I'm lying. Like, around, especially like Black Mountain, around Scorpion Gulch, there are some invisible walls present, but this is a particularly kind of obvious one that you cannot get up here or around any further or anything like that, which is a bit of a shame. There's no way to get any further than this. Instead, you just kind of have to work your way back down again. But yeah, invisible wall here. But I tell you what, if you want to distract someone from an invisible wall, offering them this rather badass thing, there's nothing to stop you coming and getting this earlier in the game. Like, if you just want to sneak in with a stealth boy, you can get in, grab that, and walk straight back out again. And potentially, it's a good way of getting a really powerful weapon really, really early on indeed. But yeah, it just distracts you from the invisible walls, which is perfect. I mean, the other way the game distracts you from invisible walls is simply by putting a whole bunch of empty space between you and them, which is arguably what the game does well in Nellis, which is, Nellis is of course the northern frontier of the map. You can't go any further north than the Nellis Air Force Base. The way it distracts you there is because Nellis is a big empty flat space because it's an airport. But because there's nothing in the northern part of Nellis, you've just basically got no reason to go up that far. So you don't really notice again that there's barriers there, just because it's just big empty space you can't be bothered to explore because you know there's nothing useful there. And incidentally, welcome to Searchlight Airport, another little area at the edge of the world over here. I think this is Rad Scorpion territory if I recall correctly. You notice it, by the way, very, very cunning indeed. The airport, of course, you know, you would perfectly expect that an airport close by to a military town would have a fence all around it. What the game, however, does very cleverly, if you go to the very rear corner of the fence, is the fence goes right up to the wall right here. So there's totally invisible walls over there, but you'll never see them because you'll just see a barbed wire fence. A barbed wire fence that is much less obvious than just an impassable canyon wall because, you know, it's around an airport. It makes perfect sense there'd be a wall there. It's just basically blending different types of impassable wall next to each other. So, like, if you just look at this, what I'm looking at right now, you'd never guess that that was the edge of the world and that was impassable. But it's 100% impassable in the end of the world. But it's so beautifully designed, you just don't realise it. Because rather than just putting a big wall or a big invisible wall or a great big, you cannot go this way, please turn around message, they just put various kind of walls next to each other, and it's just so elegantly done you don't even realise the trickery while you're playing. Searchlight Airport is one of those areas I always wondered if there was supposed to be something more done with it than what actually ended up being in the game. 'Cause it's sort of here, but it's an interesting one because, like, you would have thought, like the crashed Vertibird, there'd be something really cool here, but there isn't. And it's never used for a single quest or anything. I mean, possibly just there is actually an airport outside Searchlight, which, if I understand it, in the actual real New Vegas area, there actually is. So this therefore had to kind of just be represented here. But there's no interior. All the doors are blocked off. Of course, you can't actually get to the rear or anything. Though, admittedly, putting the rear tunnel here, that's obviously collapsed, you can't actually get through it. So actually, it looks like there is a continuing road and a way to get, or rather, the way there should be, to get from Searchlight under the airport and back out again. It doesn't feel like there's impassable walls here, even as you can actually see the rear of this building, which juts out into the non-existent rest of the wasteland. But it's just, oh, it's just beautifully designed. But yeah, things like, I suspect this is all just a trick of the mind, which is this tower here is designed to draw your attention away from the impassable walls over here. I mean, you've got one, yeah, you've got a couple of chests here. If I recall correctly, there's nothing special here. Well, I'll tell you what, 280 bottle caps, sure, why not? And, ooh, 340. I'd forgotten that was there. Alright, fine, you know what, I'll take 650 bottle caps. That's a not insignificant amount, even in this game. But of course, the airport can only go so far. It does actually have an end point here. So now what I was kind of curious in investigating is, if you go over to the edge of the airport by just tacking along this gate, how does the game stop you fleeing in this direction? Because I'm assuming it's going to be quite elegant. You know, quite frankly, I'm starting to feel bad for all the scorpions I'm killing in this part. I don't know why I keep killing scorpions. It's just, yeah, this particular episode, I'm just basically waging a one-man genocide against scorpions. And also their children. But they do die in an entertaining fashion, it must be said. Alright, so, tag along the edge of Searchlight Airport here, and, I suspect we might have, thanks to this rock here, a bit of... Yeah, straight up, there's just an invisible wall that's going to stop me getting any further in this direction. No chance I'm going to get any further in that direction. And now I'm high in the cliffs above, well, the Cottonwood overlook above Cottonwood Cove itself, with quite a steep drop down, but that's fine because this is actually the direction I want to go to anyway. But again, it doesn't feel like there ought to be an impassable wall there. Until you really go and prod at it, you don't see it, it's not obvious. But, like, that's very different from Fallout 4 and Fallout 3, where the invisible walls were very, very obvious and in the way. The fact they couldn't come up with any better way of doing it, with, by the way, you're going to die in a second, thank you. The fact they couldn't come up with any better way of doing it than just saying, hey, turn back now, you can't go any further. Are you seriously trying to climb this wall right now? You are as well. Well flipping done. I admire that. And would you believe that's not the only fire gecko that's going to die today? I feel like we've done enough murdering of scorpions. Just to make sure that no one thinks I'm racist against scorpions, let's move our attention onto something else, why don't we? Because we have got ourselves a nice little cave somewhere around here. Here we are, Fire Root Cavern. So welcome to Fire Root Cavern, and yes, we will be taking out a legendary creature right now. Probably the safest thing I can do, by the way, is get out my biggest, nastiest, most screen-filling gun. I always enjoy this thing. Legendary creatures were a great addition, by the way, because legendary creatures provided extra tough enemies to take on, so, like, you know, there were still decent challenges, even if you'd gone really, really far into the game and picked up really, really powerful weapons. So there were places that still weren't safe to explore, even in the mid to late game. Plus, it was just nice, because it meant there was stuff to reward you exploring, and New Vegas was great at rewarding you with exploring. Like, Fallout 4 is great at rewarding you with exploring too, because, like, everywhere's got junk in it, and junk remains universally useful, because it's always useful to have stuff like screws or fiberglass or whatever into the late game. But I would arguably say that New Vegas, with its unique enemies and unique weapons, is better at rewarding you. Probably the best of all of the Fallout games, really. Now, we're coming into a big cavern here, and, well, we don't need to be too worried immediately. What we're going to be taking on immediately is just some basic ones, but there's going to be something much worse in here as well, of course, the legendary fire gecko itself. So that one down there is just a basic fire gecko. That's fine. We'll just wait for a good shot at that. Lovely. One shot at you. Down into the water you go. Just quickly reload. Caution. What have we got over there? Who's coming up on me now? I can see another one of you. There's just another fire gecko. Fine. You can also go down. There's one dead. There's another fire gecko. I think it's only like 3 or 4. So, did I just miss you? I think I did, but I got a headshot and a critical strike. Lovely. That high luck paying for itself. And we've got another one, so there's number 4 of the basics. Fine. I'm happy that the basics are all going to go down. Nice and... Oh, you changed your... Stop changing your direction and angle, please. Oh, well, out of ammo for that thing. Never mind, we'll go to something more conventional. Where is she? There she is! You can tell it's the legendary fire gecko because they do a good comical run. It's not that big, but if you just kind of get a couple of shots on it now, you can definitely stand up to a lot more damage. I mean, it's not actually that tough, to be honest. This thing has got, like, you can see there, like, I'm using Elijah's advanced gun right now, so, like, that's not having a massive impact on this thing. It's got about, like, double the hit points of a normal fire gecko, but it's still got no damage resistance, so hollow point ammo especially will still do really nicely against it, and there it goes. Down pretty easily. Very, very tanky, but if it doesn't really see you because you've got high stealth, it's not really going to be able to do that much to you. But there's some other cool stuff in here as well. It's a nice little cave, by the way. It's a lot more kind of planty than plenty of caves. There's loads of just kind of, you know, vines and whatever, which you don't see in a great many caves. Right, we'll come back to that in a second, because there's another unique bit of, well, it's not really loot, to be honest. It's just a thing. Here it is. Say hello to the evil gnome. This is a unique item. There is only one in the game. It's right here in Fire Root Cavern, and it is a gnome, but it's evil. Quite why it's evil, we don't really know. Maybe the courier just thinks it looks evil because it's wearing, well, it's kind of got a slightly evil moustache. It's bold, wears glasses. Quite frankly, that's a bit offensive to bold people who wear glasses, but what have you. I will gladly take the evil gnome with me. And let's also just head down, check what the legendary fire gecko has on her. Probably nothing major, but probably a fair bit of meat, so I'll gladly cook her, if nothing else. Mound of ash, hot white ashes. I can't tell which one was the bloody legendary, because unfortunately Eve has overwritten that information. It was probably this one, because they've got meat and a hide and an egg. On the plus side, all this fighting has really got the weight of my ammo down quite a bit, so that's nice. Oh, this place also has 2 entrances, which is kind of nice. So I can go in one way from the Cottonwood Cove side, but I can use this place to also skim round to the other side and go out of the rear. So I'm kind of, rather than coming in, well, I'll show you on the map in a second. Basically, you can cut through to the other side of the mountains. And that brings you right outside to here, this nice little radioactive pool. I've very quickly done some Radaway and Radex to kind of stop myself being too irradiated here. But yeah, we've got this lovely little pool right here, and I can see there's another golden gecko somewhere around here. You may as well let me find it so I can kill it. There it is. Hello. And I'm back up to minor radiation poison, despite the fact I've just done a double Radaway. Radaway does not do very much at the minute. Right, let's just get out of here for a second, please. Yep, there we are, away from all of the rads. You can see now I'm not really through the mountain, I'm just kind of like on the other side of that little mound there. Obviously there's still like, this is all the wall at the end of the world. It's just the wall kind of like curls around here. So there's a bit more like hiding around this side of the map than you might be expecting, because that's Cottonwood there. And from Cottonwood, most people don't bother going much further east or south, but there is actually some stuff here. Incidentally, this place does actually have its own name as well. This is actually the Cottonwood Crater. I'm trying to remember now. I think there might be something in here as a reward. Probably, by the way. Don't drink this water. So, I'm pretty sure it's nothing too exciting. So, yes, it's this prospector right here. Yes, I'd forgotten about him. So, you've got a prospector who's holding a fat man. Possibly the story's supposed to be like he made this place so radioactive because he fired a fat man, who knows, and he killed himself because he was standing too close. I don't know. Still, I'm glad we found you. In fact, I think I actually walked over you earlier, so that's a shame. Still, following morning, so we've got a bit more lights to work with. Just quickly, New Vegas, step our way down these little cliffs here. And yeah, we are just going to investigate a little bit more. Just kind of complete our tour of the southern border of New Vegas by heading over to 2 locations I suspect a fair few people haven't really seen or explored before. We can probably just skirt around the edge of that gecko down there. He's not important. We're heading towards those little houses over there, because of course that's Cottonwood there, but there is a bit more stuff just slightly further down the coast. While we're getting there, by the way, fun fact, the legendary fire gecko is not the toughest fire gecko in the game's files, not by a long shot in fact. The legendary fire gecko hits about twice as hard as a normal gecko, which still isn't that hard, and it has like twice as much health. It's got like 640 hit points as opposed to like 320. It's not very much at all. There is another fire gecko variant in the game's files. It's an unused asset. It is called Gojira. It is significantly larger than the legendary fire gecko. In fact, it's significantly larger than pretty much every enemy in the game other than a behemoth. The deal with Gojira is it has 8,000 hit points, and that's a lake lurk in front of me. Yes, indeed, lake lurks. Don't see many of those around in this part of the world, but there's one. We'll just quickly kill him. Lovely. Fried to death. Beautiful. And Gojira also, more interestingly than the 8,000 hit points, which is still ridiculous by the way, but other than the 8,000 hit points, Gojira also has a fire breath attack that does 3,200 damage per second. 3,200 DPS, the fire breath. It's in the game's files, it's not used, and it was never supposed to be used. It wasn't like a cut enemy or anything, unlike some of the cut content of this game. Instead, the reason Gojira is in the save file is because one of the developers put it in because he liked unleashing it on Cap McCarran, just because it was funny to watch him destroying the NCR there. So, I don't know, clearly a bit of cabin fever was setting in during New Vegas's development over there. But yeah, it's still in the game files. You can spawn it in using console commands, but it's not really part of the game, and it was never intended to be so. It's just there for fun. Just clear out the lake lurks over here. Like many of the areas around the edge of the world, the way the game kind of gently chaperones you away from them is by just putting a giant pile of enemies that very often aren't worth the trouble of taking out. But if you feel like taking them out, there's often just like, you know, there's fun little extras to discover here, even if it's not necessarily worth the trouble in the early mid-game. And I think that should be the last of them all taken out now. Beautiful. I mean, they're 50 XP a go, mean, just clearing these places out, if you've got the ammo for it, is probably worth it just for that, quite frankly. Loads of lake lurks. You guys don't have any meat, do you? There's no such thing as lake lurk meat, which is disappointing given how... Oh! I'm wrong! There is! I wonder what that cooks up as. I'm not sure if I've ever checked. I wonder if there's a cooking station in one of these huts. If so, I will go and check that now. So here we are, the Blue Paradise Vacation Rentals. A couple of semi-submerged shacks right on the edge of the world, to be honest. There's nothing here particularly interesting. My dehydration level's got bad, has it? Well, that's good, because I'm right next to a river, which has some beautiful clean water in it. So I guess I will just drink that. Thank you. But yeah, Blue Paradise is one of those locations that doesn't really do anything. It's not really for anything. It's just a couple of houses. It's a nice little area. That, by the way, is definitely the edge of the world. The way the game deals with the edge of the world when there's water involved is it just sets up that little thing there. This is probably the closest thing in the game to a completely inorganic barrier. There's just like, yeah, there's just a barrier there, and even though it looks like you should be able to like jump over it or whatever, you can't. That's just the edge of the world. So sadly, there was no real organic way to deal with that. I mean, the alternative was just swimming up to it in the game saying, no, you may not go any further than this, which would of course have been the solution in Fallout 3, but New Vegas generally tries to do a more organic job. I can't remember if you can even go inside of these houses, by the way. I think there's one you can go inside of. Try and double check here. Yes, there is. It is a sunken beach house. I think there might even be something in here, by the way. Let's get out a gun. Oh, yes, I'd forgotten about this. This is really weird. This water is radioactive, even though the water outside that's flowing through is not radioactive. And if you drink it, it's not radioactive water, but it's radioactive anyway, which is really, really bloody weird, but what have you. So instead, we've just got a whole bunch of, yeah, just some toys and... in the oven by any chance? Yes, I will take myself some grilled mantis. And another BB gun. Again, a relatively rarely seen item. Just quickly grab some breath here, together with some pellets for it. So yeah, if you fancy a BB gun, there's not many in the game, but yeah, there's one over in Bradley's Shack. There's another one over here in Blue Paradise. And of course, there's the unique variant on the road that leads up to the Boomers, which is probably the most obvious one. In fact, I swear the water level is not consistent between outside and inside in terms of how high it is on the door, but whatever. And I think that's the only one you're allowed into. But yeah, this water out here is not radioactive, but oh, maybe you're allowed into this one. Yes, you're allowed into the way more sunken one, and same deal applies, which is, yeah, this is radioactive water, even though nothing else is. It is nice, by the way, that everything floats, and things do actually float in this game. Apart from those bottles over there, they don't. Ah! Because there's Sunset Sarsaparilla unopened, but the empty bottles do float. Attention to detail. Admire that attention to detail. That bottles that are full of liquid do not float. Bottles that are empty do float. That is just beautiful attention to detail. Now, of course, we've pretty much reached the end of the world here because you can't get past the river, and all along the actual far side of the river, you've got impassable rock. Or rather, you don't. You can rather clearly see there are 2 points where you do not have impassable stone on the far side of this river. And I would quickly like to show both of those off as well, because this is what I actually quite like, where New Vegas actually uses the impassable wall at the end of the world to its advantage, rather than a disadvantage and just like an annoying immersion-breaking thing, like it was in Fallout 3 and Fallout 4. New Vegas used it cleverly. It picked one area that had a fairly organic but fairly uninteresting barrier, which was basically the entirety of the eastern side of the map. Here, right by the river. It's the Colorado the river. I think it's Colorado. I can't remember. I don't know American topography very well. Basically, this whole area is so boring and interesting, you'd have very little reason to actually explore up and down it, except for the fact that there are 2 little bonus areas hidden away in it. Not much point to either of them, albeit with some good loot in them, so we may as well go and visit those as well. So first up, pretty much straight across from the Blue Paradise Vacation Homes, and from the number of lake lurks we had to kill, it probably will not surprise you hugely. What was that? I don't know what just caused that pop there, fine. It probably will not surprise you hugely to know that in fact we're going into lake lurk territory right now. A lot of lake lurks, in fact, like a stupidly huge number of lake lurks. May as well go up to the barrier while I'm passing by the way. You can see the barrier here. You can often, if you jump, actually get yourself on top of it like I've just done there. But even if you do, invisible wall, absolutely no way to get any further, unfortunately. You cannot get any further up or downstream there. Presumably... Wait, hang on. This must be, yeah, this must be upstream, because the dam's down that way, presume. And the dam is like, this is the high water, and it gets low when it goes through the dam. Yeah, this must be upstream. You cannot get any further upstream, the Colorado. I've probably just got the name of the river and what way it flows wrong, but whatever. But yeah, here we are. We're coming up on the Lake Lurk territory right now. I'm not going to fight these guys. Instead, I'm just going to kind of quickly use a stealth boy in order to just kind of show off the area, because honestly, there's not that much interesting here. So, just sneaky, sneaky, sneaky around here, and with my stealth skill and a stealth boy, we should be fine. Like, you can see, it's quite a bloody number of the bastards. It's a really, really healthy number of them, in fact. And what they are guarding back here is a bunch of, well, not particularly spectacular loot. It's here, which we can say to its credit, it is actually here. So we've got ourselves one basic mercenary here, who's got himself submachine guns and bottle caps, nothing particularly exciting there. The duffel bags, however, are a little bit more interesting. Some fairly good quality guns, that one's not so good. Locksmith's reader, spiked knuckles, great, I suppose. Combat armor and helmet reinforced are probably what you really want. But to be honest, if you want combat armor reinforced, just gamble in Gojira. It's the, I think, second tier of prize. It's significantly less risky than fighting your way past this ludicrously insane number of lake lurks. Now, the other is going to take us significantly further upstream and is probably the more famous and the one you're more familiar with. Again, we're just going to be passing through rather than visiting it properly because it's not really worth the ammo, risk and time of clearing it out. It is a bloody nightmare, and to be honest, it is more of a bonus area anyway. I don't think it really syncs very well, especially with the JSawyer mod, where, like, just because the amount of ammo you've got is relatively more limited, so it's not really worth the trouble of taking it out. But I would like to acknowledge its existence and pay it a visit anyway. And here we are, that lovely little gap in the rocks there, of course, designed so you kind of head up the ramp and you can't really see what you're going into. Welcome to an unmarked location, a location so terrifying the game didn't dare actually name it. I've seen it being referred to by a few different locations, but this makes the Deathclaw Sanctuary from Fallout 3 look like a bit of a walk in the park, because it sure isn't flipping lake lurks waiting for you up here. Oh no, no, no. This is where the Deathclaws live. And again, we're activating that stealth boy and heading in. Of course, the convenient thing about all these lovely fast walking perks is it makes the stealth boys last quite a lot longer. So say hello to the many, many, many Deathclaws that call this place home. And if we just go through these basic ones, because these just, yeah, basic Deathclaw. Basic. When I say basic Deathclaw, like I'm holding a light shining in darkness, that's a powerful old gun. And it's not doing very much to these guys at all. So probably don't want to get caught by these guys. You're probably thinking, oh, well, you know, 5 or 6 Deathclaws. That's pretty bad, but I can deal with it. Oh, no. Gets much worse, yes. I mean, there's just another, what, 4 or 5 just chilling out next to each other. Yeah, that's fine. Another 4 or 5. So, you know, 10 total or whatever. Again, it's not the end of the world. Let's just sneak past these guys and keep going. Because there's a lot more yet, including the very worst ones. We'll just keep going further and further and further in. And yeah, look at all the red on the map. Yeah, more yet. And you'll probably recognise some, well, not quite unique ones, but very, very rare ones. You've got the Deathclaw Mother, the Deathclaw Alpha Male in there, Deathclaw, Deathclaw, another Deathclaw Mother, 2 Deathclaw Mothers on this occasion. I can't remember if that's always guaranteed to be, if that might be tied to my level, and a ton of young ones over there as well. So basically, there's a really, really, really high number of Deathclaws, including the most dangerous ones in the game, because the Mothers are the real monsters. And the reason for going through all of this madness in the middle of all of these bastard Deathclaws as they just swarm around, if I just kind of desperately try and get myself up on a rock so they don't discover me, is these 2 lads right here. So we've got ourselves a dead prospector who has got himself, well, the 10 of diamonds, incredibly important. More importantly, of course, this guy is wearing Remnant's power armor, albeit in quite low condition, and a stealth boy. So you can kind of figure out what his plan was. His plan was to try and sneak in here, wearing power armor with some powerful stuff. He's got, yeah, he's got a multi-blast rifle right there, and he's got a friend with him as well, who was wearing some, again, quite poor quality in all fairness, T51B power armor. So is this worth it to get hold of Remnant's power armor? No! Just make friends with Arcade. Make friends with Arcade. That is so, so much easier. This is nowhere near... I mean, it's more about the challenge, to be honest. Nobody comes here to claim that because they want the Remnant's power armor. They think that's the best way to get it. People come here because they want to prove they can take on what's anything up to about, like, 30 to 40 Deathclaws in this area, including the toughest variants in the game, excluding the legendary Deathclaw, who is hanging out in Deadwind Cavern. Ironically, really bloody early on in the game, like, you can accidentally stumble upon Deadwind Cavern, like when you're travelling up to Novak for the first time. It's basically not too far off the road over there, so it's very easy to accidentally get yourself stuck in that situation. But you know what? I think I'm going to not take on 36 Deathclaws. I don't think I can, not in JSawyer. Just the amount of damage output you've got just isn't sufficient. And incidentally, is there any chance I kind of need to throw myself off this place into the water, to be honest. But the game's kind of wise to my tricks, because... Oh, okay, go. Jump. That wasn't a good enough jump! Oh, well, never mind. But I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, that's probably enough for now. This is probably a bit more of a kind of a quieter, discussion-y sort of episode than you're used to, so I do hope you're okay with that sort of thing. But I just wanted to kind of discuss some of the design that makes, like, I think, like, New Vegas' world and map is probably my favourite map and world in all of video gaming. It's just absolutely beautiful how it's put together. It's just absolutely incredibly gorgeous. And, like, you know, probably that's the most sophisticated part of it down on the south. Like, up in the north, to be honest, mainly, there's just, like, an impenetrable wall that's pretty obvious up here. It's just they're hidden behind a whole bunch of relatively uninteresting farms and farmland up here. It means you don't generally get too close to it, so it doesn't really show up as much. There's some kind of sort of clever stuff going on, like, on this side of the map, especially close to Red Rock Canyon, which when we go and actually have a look at Red Rock Canyon, I will probably actually flag about why it's a little bit more interesting than it might appear in terms of hiding the edge of the world over here. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly take a moment to actually draw attention specifically to how New Vegas handles the world's end, because it's such a fascinating little thing. It's a thing that it gets so right that Fallout 3 and indeed Fallout 4 after it just didn't nail at all. And it's just an example of why New Vegas is the most wonderful game in the world. So as we cower close by to where the Deathclaws live, I would say that is enough for now, ladies and gentlemen, and we will be back very soon indeed. But in the meantime, I've been John, this has been Many a TrueNut, and this has been Fallout New Vegas Survival Mode with the JSawyer Mod. Thank you very much, and goodbye. We're going to build a large green park as a memorial to the bloody place that wouldn't stop burning down. Oh gosh darn it, the building next door's just catching fire instead. Can I just kind of demolish a church or something to make room for it? Because I will. Then next to the magnificent City Hall, a giant statue of me